I guess I wanted to ask you about it's the question everybody wants to know, the quarterback position. How's that competition going so far this week?
They each get better every day, and couldn't be more proud of that group. One day one will have a slightly better day. The next day the next one will step up. But all four of them have represented themselves very well. They've busted their tails. They've gotten better. And each one of them has an aspect of their game that's unique from the other one. And I'd pick any of the four and feel confident we could go win football games.
Do you have a feeling at this point in camp? Do you know who that person will be? And
It depends
at
on
least
what,
maybe in the back of your mind.
It depends on what day you ask me. We're getting closer, and we'll have a decision here, pretty soon.
And on the other side of the ball, I wanted to ask you about the middle linebacker group. That's kind of almost like the quarterback of the defense. How's that position battle looking? Who are some of the guys that have stood out?
Well, obviously Trevor Harmonson, Tyler Mankey, DeMarco Guidry, Jamal Ligon. Those four kids have played really well. Clarence Hicks has played well, obviously, as well. So we're going to play a bunch of kids, and that's the secret to making it through this season. This season's going to be like none other. Your depth is going to be incredibly, incredibly important. We're still working ones, twos, and threes, and we know that makes it go a little longer out there. We just feel very confident we're going to need all those threes at some point during the season to play for us.
Thanks, Jeff.
Hey, Greg, you're up.
Jeff, how are you?
Good, brother. How are you?
Good. You guys have talked a lot really through the fall and even before this about throwing a lot of mud at the wall and seeing what happens. How is the installation process going? How much is getting picked up so far?
There's frustration with that, obviously, because we want to begin with the end in mind and get our entire offense in. And when we find out who we're playing and the scheme we'll be playing, we'll start shrinking that back down, Greg. But until we know that, we're going at this with a very big picture mindset, which you can imagine how much harder that makes when you're repping four quarterbacks. So when we know our first opponent, the scheme, the quarterback, we'll start pulling back.
Do you think you'll be able to focus on what you need? Like, is there enough of the big picture that they've picked up that you feel confident with? Or do you know right now there's going to be certain stuff that they've picked up that you'll have to lean on more heavily?
Well, it'll depend on which guy we go with at quarterback, because all four of them are so uniquely different. So once we make that decision, that will also clean up the installs where they won't be, such big installs. They'll be smaller installs. It's just we'd like to – when we find out who our opponent is 2 weeks out, we'll start getting a lot smaller.
How about on the defensive side? How is the installation going there? Is it sort of the same situation?
It's very similar. Coach Nix is beginning with the big picture in mind. And when we find out who we're playing 2 weeks out, we'll really start preparing for those guys.
I know JJ asked you about a couple specific positions, but generally, how far along are you in building a depth chart? Is that still coming together, or do you have something you feel pretty good about on paper already?
No, we're running ones, twos, and threes. Certain positions have different players in them every day. Certain positions have the same people in there every day.
And then on Monday, we talked about students coming back on campus, how the guys have responded to that. Through the 2 days since then, how have you seen them handle this, and where do you stand in that regard?
Our players have done a much better job with their masks. Our coaches have done a really good job of reminding our players about their masks. We won't do a meeting. We won't start a meeting unless their masks are on and their notes are out. When we go in the gymnasium, we won't start a walkthrough till our masks are all on. So we're doing a heavy emphasis on that. You can see what's going on. I've told y'all before, we speak about current events quite a bit with other universities that have let their kids back on campus. You've seen some of those, rates go up. We can't be one of those schools. We've got to be better than that. We've got to hold ourselves to our standard. And I know it's a lot to ask of young men, but I believe our guys can bubble themselves and take care of themselves.